Couple of months I got this email. Hi Varun, I watched all the videos. It was great. I did the test after that. I just wanted to see how much of the videos I grasp. I'm trying to read these books. Man, it's dry, and after an hour all the words start to look like same. Does it sound familiar? I'm not talking about the first part of the email where the student is saying the videos are good. That I know, I am a good teacher. But what I mainly is referring to is the second part. I'm trying to read this book. Man, it's dry. And after a while, everything starts to look like the same. That's exactly how I felt actually when I gave my PMP almost 10 years back. Why these concepts in these books are explained in such a boring way. In fact, in such a horrifying way. Can we not make it interesting? Can we not give examples like in some real life examples, something which we do in our day-to-day life? And that is where my videos using a case study kind of approach come into place. But I use the PMP exam content outline which the PMP 2022 exam is based on, and not any particular book, any one particular book. I repeat, my course videos are based upon PMP 2022 exam content outline and not on any one single book, using a case study, using some real life examples which you can relate to. By the way, who am I? My name is Varun and I am the founder of EduHubSpot, a training company which teaches PMP, ACP, RMP, PGMP, PFMP, SAFE certification. You just name it and we do it. My team and I have given thousands of PMPs to this industry. So let's go right into that. So as I told you before, I explain the entire concepts into step-by-step case study kind of approach. Now, what do I mean by that? I try to picture myself that when I get a project, what is the first thing I will do? Then what is the series of steps I take to make sure I successfully complete the project? That is what I do. And that is what I actually explained in the previous course overview video, which I was explaining it to you, what are the different structures and all. But let me just give you an overview once again. First, we will start up with effective team formation. And when I say effective team formation, get your A team with you to make sure you get the work done. Then once your team is with you, and I'm not saying that like you get the team right in the beginning, no, not at all. You get some team members, your A players, and then whole throughout the project, you keep on adding more team members as requirements change, as things change. Then you plan the project work. We start talking about the planning aspect, what all things are needed to get this work done. It can be using agile, it can be using predictive, it doesn't matter. You will always have to do the planning. Then we will execute the project work where we will talk about like implement the work either through sprint cycles like in agile, or we can use a predictive approach. Then we can track and monitor the project work. So tracking and monitoring the project work is something which we do throughout the project. Finally, we talk about growing the business, how the compliance come into picture, how we can get more from the customer. Once everything is done, we go ahead and close the project. So this video, we are talking about the first topic, which is effective team formation. And the first topic we have is build a team. Now this build a team is actually one of the tasks from your exam content outline. And as I told you, I use exam content outline and not any one single book. I'm not naming any book, but what I'm trying to say is that we don't need to use any book. Only my videos are more than sufficient to pass your PMP exam in your first attempt. So first is your build a team. Let's review our exam content outline. Oh, and by the way, you get access to my free exam content outline tool also. So let's see how we can understand how these two things work. Okay, going to people domain exam content outline from PMI, and build a team is our task number 6. You can see these are all the enablers for build a team. And referring this enablers to our exam content outline tool, here it is. Okay, so this is my cheat sheet. I created a similar ITTU sheet when we were having a previous course, but now I created this exam content outline free tool. Let me just give you a glimpse. So it was build a team. If you see task number 6, build a team. Then when you click on this build a team, it will take you to that particular domain 1 task. It will show you all the enablers, and then at the bottom you can attempt some questions also out of that. These questions we will do it at the end of the video. I'll show how we can do this, and you know, like first I need to explain you the concepts, and then only we will do the questions. But most importantly, first let's talk about some of the enablers from this tool. Oh, by the way, if you need this free exam content outline tool, first of all, if you are our student, you should already have access to this tool. If not, send an email to your mentor, to your respective mentor, and we will get you, like, email you this document. Otherwise, if you are not our student, still you can get access to this free tool. Go to our website, not now, first listen to this video. After the end of the video, all this information is in the description of your YouTube, so you can do that later. Go to the website eduhubspot.com. Go to the website, and once you go over there, just talk to the chat person, whosoever is available. We will talk to you, we'll explain you how to use this cheat sheet, and we'll set up a Zoom call, and that's it. After the end of the Zoom call, you can have access to this free tool. Once again, we will email it to you. If you become a student, it's well and good. If you don't become a student, that's also fine. We will still go ahead and give you the access of this tool. And it's a beautiful tool. You can actually see the question explanations, you can see the answer explanation, like, you know, if you click on it will say wrong answer, correct answer, and once again, we'll do this in detail. But let's first try to understand the exam content outline, basically the enablers for this particular task. So we have build a team. As I told you, when we start the project, we want to make sure we have the right people with you. It could be your team, it could be your stakeholders. Everyone is basically a stakeholder. What is the stakeholder? Stakeholder is someone who is directly or indirectly impacted by a project. So appraise those stakeholder skills. What does that mean? Appraising of stakeholder skills means understand what is their skill set, how you can make sure you can improve those skill set, what is their importance, you know, all these things. Deduce project resource requirement. Of course, what is the resource requirement at your end, because that will help you to go ahead and acquire those kind of resources. Continuously assess and refresh the team skills to meet the project needs. Exactly, make sure you are continuously assessing their needs, their skill set, because things change all the time, and if your team is not doing the right thing, then you as a project manager has to take that responsibility to get them what they need. Maintain team and knowledge transfer, very important. Don't be dependent on one single person. So you have to make sure you continuously do the knowledge transfer between the team members, so that if someone takes a leave, someone leaves the company, you have the right picture. Basically, you can get the work done. First, as I told you, who are project stakeholders? Someone who is directly or indirectly being impacted by this project. Like you are preparing for PMP, right? Understand? The way you are preparing for PMP, I am one of your stakeholder. Even if you are my student, even if you are just watching this video for learning, still I am your stakeholder. Why? Because I am giving you this knowledge which will always remain with you. Something which you will learn and apply it in your real exam. So that's a stakeholder. Your family is a stakeholder. Your company is a stakeholder. PMI is a stakeholder. All of us are stakeholders who want just one single thing for you, which is pass the exam with above target in all the domains. That's what I aim for with my students. Once you know what stakeholders is, first thing you really want to make sure is make that stakeholder register. And I'm going to talk about the stakeholder register in detail when we create the stakeholder register in further modules, which are available on my website www.eduhubspot.com. But for now, make sure that you identify each of the stakeholders who are responsible which will have an impact on the project. Because if you know who your stakeholders are, then you can understand their expectation, make sure you engage them properly. So all these things are part of your identifying of stakeholders. And how you will do that? You will do the stakeholders analysis. Like you will try to understand their interest level. What is the interest? Is the interest of that person high, medium, low? Like what is the interest level of your organization in you becoming a PMP? Maybe they are not even interested. Maybe they don't even know that you are going for the exam. Maybe your boss is too much into it. He's forcing you, she's forcing you to make sure you clear the exam. Your rights, legal or moral rights, any knowledge, any ownership, any contribution. You do all of these things and try to understand, like ownership, who will be the accountable for this particular deliverable. All that is part of your stakeholder analysis. Now, some of the different techniques which are used to categorize those stakeholders is, first is your power interest grid. Now, in this first video actually for the course overview for build a team, I'm going into detail. This may be a long video, but I'm deliberately going into detail so that you can understand it end to end. And the case study we can use in this particular example is like build a website. Now, if you build a website, and what type of website, what type of industry you are in. Like we can say recently, one of my students passed the PMP exam and he was going through a lot and he's based out of US. So I had a discussion with him. So I thought, why not surprise that person with a cupcake or some kind of cake. So I took the address of that person, I went to the website, like did Google and found out that, hey, this is a really cool company who is sending cupcakes. So I ordered the cupcakes, it went with a champagne bottle and that person had that memorable time. I was not supposed to do it or I didn't have to do it, but still I did it. Why? Because I just wanted to make that person feel special, that you have really achieved something good, right? So now this is the case study because I really loved their website. It was a cupcake website where you can see you can order based upon different occasions, like is it a birthday, is it an anniversary, is it a graduation, so you can. And then there were like B2C, like are you a person who is ordering or are you doing it for a corporate? So there were different modules which were. So let's assume you have a dream that you want to go into bakery, you want to make a website like this. Who all are your stakeholders? Stakeholders are someone who will help you with that bakery, like the setup, a physical location, or like your warehouse. If you are doing this, virtually, but you need to have a warehouse where you are actually making those cupcakes, and then people who are doing working for you, making the chefs and all the bakers, not chefs actually. Then if you have a physical location and you are selling it from your own location, then you might have like a counterman who is someone who is taking the orders, like, oh, create a website, you need a technical person to create a website. Then if let's say you are submitting orders, like or giving coupons and things like that, then you need a marketing person, someone on Facebook, LinkedIn, or putting your advertisement. All these you need a team. You cannot do it on your own. That is your stakeholders, your team plus someone who is directly or indirectly being impacted by that. And that is where your first categorization tool come into picture, which is your power interest grid. Now, what is this power interest grid? So first, classify that stakeholder based upon the power. Is it high? Is it low? Similarly, what is the interest level? Is it low or is it high? Then once you are able to figure out that stakeholder power and interest level, based upon that, your answer would be keep satisfied, manage closely, monitor, and keep informed. Now, what do I mean by that? Don't worry if you got confused. Same cupcake example which I'm talking about. Let's say you are recently doing this, like you are about to open your shop. You invite a newspaper reporter to write an article about your new bakery. So that newspaper reporter, for you, what is the interest level of that person? Like whether if your bakery becomes like super, like awesome, like everyone is just buying from you, what is the interest level? What is the, the power of that person? And more importantly, what is the interest level of that newspaper reporter? If you talk about the power, I would say that person has a very high power. Why? Because if that person writes a bad review, bad experience about your bakery, then people will not come. People might read that newspaper and might not come. So definitely the power is very high. Now let's talk about the interest level of that newspaper reporter. Now newspaper reporter came to your bakery because you asked, right? But the interest level is not really very high. Why? Because if you become a millionaire, if you become a billionaire, this chain becomes a super powerful, very nice, the newspaper reporter is not getting anything out of it, right? So the interest level is kind of okay. I won't say low, I won't say high, but more on the lower end side. Okay. So for someone who has high power and low interest, you keep that person satisfied. So if you in an exam, they give you a question like this and they ask you in what category would you classify that newspaper reporter, then answer to that question is keep satisfied. Let's say you yourself are the baker who is doing it from one particular showroom. Your interest level is definitely high. Your power is definitely high because you call the shots. Someone like you should always be managed closely. What about the counterman who is, taking the orders, swiping the credit cards, taking the cash? That person's power is low as compared to you or as compared to a baker, who's mud. But the interest level of that person is high because that's his or her job. Right? So for someone like that, you keep that person informed. Finally, let's say your neighbor who has an adjacent shop who sells something else, something different, or you don't have something different. That person has low power. Why? Because you have got the legal documentation and everything to open a shop and you did that. Similarly, the interest level is also kind of okay. He or she is doing their business, you are doing their business. So for someone like them, you will monitor. So in exam, you will get scenarios like this. Always remember, 99% of your exam would be scenario based. They will give you real scenarios like these and they will ask you, what category would you do? A, keep satisfied. B, monitor. C, manage closely. D, keep informed. First ask this question to yourself, high power, low interest, high interest, and then answer it. Don't go directly, don't jump directly to the answer. You will always make a mistake and that's what not we want. Okay, that's your power interest grid. Then we have stakeholder cube. So stakeholder cube is basically more like, I would say, more sophisticated, more three-dimensional. So it's not just about power interest. It can have some other column like attitude or urgency. So basically more than 2 dimensions can come into stakeholder cube. Salience model is also more than 2 dimensional, but it's typically talking about 3 things: power, urgency and legitimacy, basically involvement. You classify the stakeholder based upon these 3 categories. Now from your exam perspective, I will say your power interest grid is the most important and rest all you should just know the definition of those. Then we also have other things like directions of influence, and directions of influence is like upward, downward, sidewards, diagonal. There are so many. Like upward is your boss. So those stakeholders are, their direct influence is pretty high. Then someone who is your team, your direct influence on them is high. So that's your downwards. Then sidewards is your peers basically. And then someone we have outwards. Outwards would be like outside your project team, like your end users, like this video. Everyone in the world, my team is directly involved in creating those videos, but then there are people who will be using, like someone like you who doesn't become my student, who doesn't take my complete program, but still they love this video, they're learning from it and things. So that's also, you are more like outward for me, but please don't become outward. Work with me, work with my team to pass this exam. And then of course we have prioritization. You classify the stakeholders based upon the priority. Like priority in sense, like someone's requirement is pretty high, so that become high priority. Then someone's power also take into consideration. It all those things. It just depends upon what method you are using. What is the definition of priority for you? Is it requirements, or is it power, or is it something else? So it just varies. Then continuously you do the team performance assessment. You continuously evaluate your team, how they are doing. Like it's not just at the end of the year, like typically before the March, you do it in January, February time frame. Yes, it could be when they say, oh, your salary is increased by X percentage, or it is not increased because XYZ. But a good project manager continuously assess the performance of the team. And how does this help? It helps to increase the skill set, get them more things, reduce the staff turnover rate. Why? Because let's say if I am not happy, if let's say my baker is not happy, then I want to know about that person not happy in the beginning, not at the end, like the yearly evaluation we do. Okay, information processing, of course, you should know, like the ground reality, what's going on. That is something your baker or your person who's on the front desk can do that. Build trust, better interaction among team members. Of course, if you as a project manager are continuously talking to your team members, then it will build that trust. Some of the tools which help you to do the performance assessment, most common attitudinal survey. I would say survey which is done to understand the feelings, emotions, attitude of those team members. In your organization, something like this may already be done. Like, they see how satisfied are you over here? Do you feel that your boss supports you? Do you see your ideas are heard? All that is attitudinal survey. Then we have structured interviews. Structured interviews are more formal, informal, more on a one-on-one basis. Sometimes you have skip level interviews, which is you don't talk to your boss, you talk to your boss's boss, so that you can get direct feedback. Then you have specific assessment also. I'm asking you, once you're done with this video, go to my website and once you're done with this particular chapter 1's videos, then give a sample question. See whether you are able to understand this concept or not. That's a specific assessment being given to you. Then ability tests, the aptitude tests which are given to check your aptitude. We have focus group also. Focus group is more structured, and this is something which I will talk in the I would say the scope management, which is in the plan the project work section, where we will be focused. We will try to see that how we are focusing on one aspect. We will see how this is different from other like a nominal group technique or a brainstorming and stuff. We'll talk about there. Who are really your project team members? Someone who is directly helping you to achieve this. Like in our chef bakery example, who are the project team members? I would say, the front desk, the baker, then the warehouse, if you're doing, then your marketer who is, taking care of your Facebook, LinkedIn, all those, social networking pages. They are your project team members. Okay. Someone who worked directly on the project with the project manager. And there is a step-by-step process in order to make sure that you acquire those people. Like first, identify those people. Once you identify those people, once you estimate whoever you need, then you make sure you get them onboarded. Sometimes it may be a virtual team member. Sometimes it may be like in a real, like working in a in a warehouse together, not just virtual. Then it's not really just about human resources. It's also about your material, equipment resources. Like for the bakery, I may need a machine which put the froth on the cupcake. So that's also a resource for you. Then make sure you have everything in place you have identified. Go ahead and acquire them. Once they are onboarded, make sure you develop them, like provide them with trainings. If they have confusion, doubts in the process, help them out. And finally, have an effective system in place to track their performance. Talk to them, help them, support them to make sure that you write down their feedback, resolve those conflicts. All this is part of your step-by-step process of team members. What are typically the requirements? How to select those right team members? I would say first, you really need to have the right skill set. Okay, define for this particular job for a baker what is the right skill set. Once you have that definition, because the baker skill set would be different as compared to the front desk person who is taking, the credit card, correct? Once you have defined the right skill set, then make sure you go ahead and hire them, like, onboard them. Okay, make sure they are cross trained. When I say cross trained, like one person, like in this case, in this baker example, I can't train the front desk person to be the baker also, but sometimes I can actually train the baker to be on the front desk if there is no one, if someone has taken. This may help. If someone takes an unexpected leave or you don't have the right resources, you can multitask. Have journalized specialists, hire those journalized specialists, like jack of all trades. Okay, that's your journalized, and this is more of an agile term, which we have already kind of discussed in the agile methodology. But it's not just about people. Make sure you talk about the material and equipment. Like equipment is let's say I need a printer. That's an equipment resource for me. Material is the ink in that, printer's ink. Okay, and all these things are part about, how to get the right team members on your project. We definitely need different skills to build that team once they are over there. Conflict management, not everyone may like each other, right? You want to make sure everyone likes, and if there are conflicts, have an amicable solution. Understand the problem. Don't just hate the person, like, hit the problem, not the person. Of course, you don't go ahead and start hitting people, but I think you can get what I'm talking about. Culture awareness. Everyone is, coming from different background. They have different skill set. Like right now, my video, right now, what you are watching, you may be from US, you may be from India, you may be from Africa, you may be from Middle East. Okay, so like, my video, I have students from all over the world. Sometimes I have students from countries where I didn't even know that this country existed. Yes, you can say I'm ignorant, but that's a fact. PMP is being done by all over the world, which is such a good thing. So everyone wants to increase their skill set. Leadership skills. You need to show to your team that you are the real leader who wants to help them, and not just about, thinking about your own self and the company. Think at the overall, be a servant leader basically. And we'll talk about that in the agile video. Meeting management. Meeting management is more about, like for example, what are the, you should put 24 hours, you should put the agenda 24 hours prior to the meeting. That's your meeting management. What are the things which you are done to make sure meetings are effective? Like be on mute if you're not talking, like those ground rules kind of a thing. And of course, negotiation. As a good project manager, you have to make sure that you have that good negotiation skill. Sometimes you really need to influence one person that why you are going with that approach. You might have to negotiate on that. Then we have different decision making techniques also. Like if the team members are divided, one says do A, do B, how will you take that decision? That is where voting comes into picture. And voting is like, you do unanimity, like everyone in the room has to agree to this decision. Then we have majority, more than 50% of the people have to agree. Then we have plurality, which is the idea that gets the most votes win. Okay, so this is a confusing one. I'll give you an example. Just imagine someone says that, okay, we should offer this 10% discount as a New Year discount, simple. Other person says, hey, 10% is nothing, let's give 20%. Then someone says that, 20% is not good, let's say 30%. So 10, 20, 30. So some people are saying 10%, some people are saying 20, and some are saying 30%. Let's say you have 10 member team. Okay, 3 people are saying 10% discount, another 3 are saying 20% discount, and the remaining 4 people are saying let's go for 30% discount. Now who won? 4, because 4 people, which were the maximum number of people, told that we should go for 30% discount. Now if you do the math, 4 people out of 10 is not a majority. It's actually less than majority. Majority would have been more than 5, right? But still, because 4 had the maximum votes, you went with that. Or in other situation, you do autocratic decision making, where Varun comes into the picture and says no discount, 0% discount. So that's your autocratic decision making. Like one person takes the decision on behalf of others. And we also have multi-criteria decision analysis. You have different criterias, you define those different criterias, evaluate it, rank them, and based upon those criteria, you take a decision. That's also multi-criteria decision analysis. Then you have facilitation. So what was interviews? One-on-one. Focus group, focusing on one aspect. Write this down. This is an important keyword. Focus group is focusing on one aspect. Like the marketing team member, they are focusing only on marketing. If let's say when we are making that website for my cupcake industry, as compared to a security person who is not just worried about the marketing, who is worried about the overall website security. When you need to have requirements, basically you do facilitation workshops where you call all the people together in one single room and you are documenting the requirements of everything together. That's your facilitation. Focus group would be focusing on one aspect. That's it. Facilitation covering every aspect together. And we have JAD sessions, QFD, user stories. You don't really need to go into detail what JAD is or QFD is. This is something like you really don't need. QFD is typically used in manufacturing industry. JAD is typically used in IT. You don't have to go into detail. But yes, you should know that these are part of your facilitation. As far as user stories is concerned, this is something which I have already explained in the Agile section. Then you have the networking. Make sure you have good networking skills. Like, a lot of times when people take the course from me after the PMP class, they ask me, Varun, what's next? I have learned so much. I really loved the experience. I want to do something else. So then I tell them, okay, do this. Then sometimes I help them to find a job also where my networking skills come into picture. I have so many students from so many world, from all over the world. I ask my students to help them, or I have some good networking with some leadership people. I ask them if they need anyone. All these things are part of it. Observation, conversation, you observe, like you are observing right now watching this video. All these are helping you to build that team for you. You observe your team members, your PM observes you, you observe your PM. Servant leadership. Another, serve a leader who serves other. Someone who is not just focusing on themselves. They put people first. That's how I put it. That's your servant leadership. And of course you have team building exercise you do, like pizza parties or happy hours, and all those things are also taken care to make sure you build the right team to get the work done. What are the objectives of team development? Like some team building objectives: work with the team members to increase their productivity and skill set. Of course, ultimate goal is to increase their productivity, work with them to improve their team communication, resolve any conflicts if there are, motivate the team to come up with those out of box ideas. Like for me, people say that, Varun, you come up with this out of box idea of explaining the entire scenario using a case study kind of approach. Yes, I do that. That's an out of box. You don't have to read a book. Just watch these videos, start understanding, make notes out of it. You will learn a lot. And work with the team members closely so that they can contribute. Give them that accountability. Make sure you are making them comfortable. All these things help a lot. We are living in a virtual world. COVID hit. Everyone told us that virtual world will not work. You cannot work, but it's working, right? I mean, my team is totally virtual. We are in all parts of the world doing our thing. If you are responsible, if you really want to do work, you will do the work. If you don't want to do a work, you really, it's not necessary that you have to go to a workplace to do a work. You will not do it over there also, right? There are some advantages. It saves money, time, better work-life balance. Like I don't waste time in traveling now. I support my family, my baby, my wife. They are happy that I'm home. Sometimes there are security and compliance issues. Yes, I agree. Lack of social interaction, but I think we go out, meet with friends from time to time, so that is also taken care of. I meet with my colleagues also from time to time, so that's part of it, I would say. And all of these things makes your resource management plan. And this is something which we will be covering in your plan the project work. But just to give you an overview, like all these plans, the keyword is how the project resources will be categorized, allocated, managed. Like when I'm talking about scope, how the scope will be defined, managed. When I'm talking about cost, budget, how the budget will be allocated. So all that is part of your resource management plan related to resources, like identification, acquiring, controlling, recognition, all those things, your roles, their authority level, their competencies, responsibilities, what they will be doing, all that is part of your resource management plan. And then, all these things, we use different techniques to come up with, these plans. We use hierarchical charts, we use your work breakdown structure, something which I will explain in the next section. The next chapter in the scope management. But you have organization breakdown structure, your org charts, your text oriented formats. What is your text oriented format? Go to any company's career site. Over there you will see actually, like, the job responsibilities. A PM should do this, should have X number of experience, things like that. All this is your text oriented format. Then you have self-organizing team, which is like, team organize themselves on their own. Like, you don't have to tell them that do this, do that. No, they know what they need to be done. They pick up the work and they do it together. Simple as that. This is typically happens in agile actually, not in a predictive, but that's how it is. We have resource breakdown structure, which defines the categories and the different resource type. Like, you will have a human resource, you will have an equipment resource, you will have a material resource, things like that. You categorize all the resources in your resource breakdown structure. You have your RAM and RACI. RACI chart basically it's a type of RAM, which is your responsibility assignment matrix, and RACI is your responsible, accountable, consult and inform. So basically what happens is, you have the list of work packages on your left, and if you don't know what work package is, for now think of it as a deliverable. I'll be explaining work packages later in plan the project work, but for now think that these are deliverables. So on the left hand side you will have your work packages, deliverables 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. On the top you will have your list of people, like your resource types, which is like the titles, like PM, sponsor, business analyst, engineer, developer, coder, all those things. Then you divide, okay, this person should be responsible for this, this person should be accountable for this person should be informed, this person should be consulted. So you do RACI, responsible, accountable, consult, inform, for each of the work packages on the left, your deliverables on the left, and accordingly you take a now the team members know that, okay, hey, for this particular I am accountable, so I want to make sure that I get this work done, right? So that's your accountable. Of course, you take into consideration the resource cost. One resource you can get it for $10 per hour, or you can get a resource for $1,000 per hour or $100 per hour, right? So you need to take into consideration the resource cost. That's how you will do the planning, right? Their availability, their skill set, the requirements of the project, all that you have to take that into consideration into resource cost. And finally, if you remember, the last enabler, continuously assess your team members' performance. So as a PM, first of all, make sure that the team have at least a basic understanding, understand their capability, identify those gaps. And once you identify those gaps, make sure you close that gaps, give them trainings, use different techniques so that you help the team member to reach at a stage where they should be. Finally, you have your continuously assessing the team. You need to take into consideration two things: your knowledge management and your information management. Now, see, the purpose is to make sure that you use your existing knowledge and create new knowledge also, which would help in the future. Like, for example, I'm doing the work and you are looking at me. That will help you to basically understand how Varun is. Like, after this we are done, we will do a practice question from this particular section. That will help you to understand how Varun is approaching to a question, right? So that is something which is more like a knowledge management. Then you have information management, which is something like your PMIs. Like I will say, okay, go and watch my video. That's more of information management which you are taking from your own, right? Like, updating the lessons learned register and stuff, but more in a real life kind of a thing where we are interacting more oftenly. That's more of a knowledge management, I would say. Okay, so this marks the completion of the theoretical part. Now we will be doing couple of questions on this to see what you have learned. We'll do some questions from from this, plus now we will go to our free tool also, the exam content outline, and I'll show it to you how that tool also works. So let's go right into that. Mario is a new PMO director. To ensure the success of the PMO implementation, he wants to meet all the important stakeholders on this implementation. Which document should he review first to find out who the important stakeholders are? Okay, I think it's an easy question. So first is RACI chart. What is RACI? We just did responsible, accountable, consult, inform. On the top, you have all the different titles, PM, sponsor and stuff. Will that tell you who the important stakeholders are? Not really. It's just giving you the title. It's not just giving you individual people's name. So I would not prefer that as my first choice. Stakeholder engagement plan. Stakeholder engagement plan may give you that information, no doubt, but that is more telling you how you are keeping those stakeholders engaged. Exact information about those stakeholders is actually in your stakeholder register and not necessarily your engagement plan. Resource management plan, I know we did this, but again, it's more about the resources and not necessarily about all the stakeholders, which is given more in your stakeholder register. So the correct answer is C, stakeholder register. See how I use my world famous elimination technique to come up with the answer. Now this is an easy question. If you got it wrong, it's absolutely fine, but we will have trickier questions also. Now let's do another one. Matt has been assigned a new project. As part of the communication effort, he is documenting the resources, roles and responsibilities, skills required and the reporting relationship. Where should Matt document this information so that the project communication can happen most optimally? Good question. If you remember, all these things actually we discuss in the resource management plan. They are actually part of the resource management plan. It's not roles, responsibilities, skills required is not part of your RACI chart or the resource calendar. We didn't discuss what resource calendar is, but as the name states, resource calendar, which is calendar, when your resources are available, when they are not available, the working days and non-working days, things like that. Communication management plan. Okay, now I know they wrote this statement where they said, where should Matt document so that the project communication can happen most optimally? But this was really not the question was. The real question was, as a part of the effort, he is documenting resources, roles and responses, skills required. All that information is in the resource management plan, not necessarily in the communication management plan. Yes, you will use the resource management plan to communicate, but really it's actually your resource management plan which has that information. So the correct answer should be A. Okay, now let's quickly go to our exam content outline tool as well. Okay, in every team meeting, your project manager assigns work to your team. For the last few days, the duration of these meetings have increased considerably. Which of the following cannot be the reason behind it? Okay, this is the not question. So it's a tricky question. Which of the following cannot be the reason? What do I mean by that is, like out of 4, definitely there are few like reasons why the team is taking more time for these meetings. Lack of work breakdown structure. Now I know I have not explained you what work breakdown structure is, but if you don't have a work breakdown structure, then yes, your team meetings can increase considerably because they don't know who is doing what. So A is definitely not the answer because it's asking about cannot. Okay, so A should be wrong. Let me double click and it showed me wrong answer. Lack of RACI model. We just did what RACI model is, right? So RACI model actually showed it to you. Like this is responsible, accountable. If you don't have a RACI model, of course these meetings can increase. So this should also be a wrong question. You can see lack of resource leveling. Okay, what is resource leveling? And this is something which I will discuss in the schedule management, plan the project work. But resource leveling, as the name states, level the resources, which means no one should be over working or less working and things. Now it says duration of these, I think lack of resource leveling has nothing to do with increasing the meetings times. That has, like, yes, one person would be very busy or one person is not at all busy from lack of resource leveling, but for that reason your meetings have increased, that doesn't make sense. So I think where it says which of the following cannot be the reason, I think this cannot be the reason. So C should be the correct choice. And that is correct. C is the correct choice. Lack of commitment. Yes, if your team is not committed, then the team members, the team meetings may increase, the time may increase. So that can also be the reason. So this means that cannot be the reason behind it. So out of all the 4 options, I think C is the correct, which we saw. You can click here to to see the answer explanation also at the bottom. You can also click on this video explanation. It will take you to YouTube and show the video where I am explaining you this question again. So that's your question 1. And once again, if you need this tool, you just need to go to my website www.EduHubspot, hubspot.com. Talk to my team members, and like on chat, they will give you this tool for free of cost. You just need to talk to them. They will do a Zoom call with you, explain you the process, and at end of the call, this is yours. One more question, and I will leave it for you to do this question. So yeah, go on my website and get the access of the tool, find out what the question is and try to see the answer. And that's it. Then you can go back to the home page as well, where you can. So you can pick and choose from there. So we are at the end. Let's do quick revision. End of the first video, focus on the power interest grid. Remember, high power, low interest, keep satisfied, manage closely. Very important topic. Also, the difference between information knowledge management. A lot of people get confused. Focus on the RAM and RACI chart. That's also important. And practice as many questions as possible. Now, don't do much questions. I think 4 questions, 2 on this video, 2 questions on the exam content are sufficient for now. Then we will move to the next series of videos. Once this entire chapter is done, then we will target the questions, and this is available on my website free of cost. You can definitely go ahead and do that on my website www.eduhubspot.com, and over there we will you can watch all the different videos and series and everything. Next topic we would talk about is the define team ground rules. Now guys, before you move to the next topic, I have a small request. If you like this video, please make sure you click on the like button, you click on the subscribe button, because I'm gonna make so many videos and you will get automatic notification. And we have to tell YouTube that this was a good video, because even after watching this video, if you don't do any of these things, then it's a problem for me, because YouTube will say, hey, people watched this video and still they didn't like or subscribe. This means it's not a good video, which is a bad sign for me. So if you liked it, please do that and comment on this video. How was the video? Give me feedback. I reply to each and every video personally, because this is my passion. Thank you.